And I think that really set you up potentially for what you're currently doing now,
Yes, absolutely.
where it's like this bridge between the West and the East,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. I think the bridge sort of, I think, okay, so when I was still at Tencent Music, I feel like I was already been doing the bridging a little bit.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Right?
Yeah.
So there were a lot of US clients, and there were times that, some priority artists that we did like a huge case from the United States, and everybody from the US kind of flew over to China. And then we had this big sort of conference about this very specific artist that everybody cared about and wanted to do well for. So I found myself having already doing a lot of educational tasks, educating people about who we are as a market.
Like you're doing right now.
Yeah, like what I'm doing right now, who we are as a market, what are some of the things that are different from the US, what are some of the different nuances that you need to pay attention to. Like, there are lots of layers.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Seen and Heard. I'm Madeline Rosene, and today I'm here with a very special guest, Sandy Chen, who I've known since high school. And Sandy is a music industry savant and just is crushing her career.
Oh, thank you.
She worked for Tencent for years, and now she has her own company called Southern Wind Music, which, can you give us a little brief description about what you do?
I think a short description of what Southern Wind does is really bridging the gap between East and West through strategic and intentional content marketing and management. So that's kind of a high level, very MBA-like answer. I can break down the details of the different business models and the different types of things that we do, but I think that's the kind of the high level answer for you.
Love it. Yes. And I think it's what you do is so important because, I mean, first of all, we're living in a time where I feel like people are scared of what's outside of the United States potentially.
Yes.
And also maybe some people are not as open to collaborating with, artists outside of the United States or producers outside of the United States. And to me, that makes me so sad because all I want to ever do is make connections, right?
Right.
And travel and you also grew up partially in the United States.
Yes.
So you grew up also probably listening to a lot of music from the United States and
absolutely.
Meeting artists here.
Yes.
And you always knew you wanted to work in the music industry?
Yes, I do. I think, well, ever since high school, really.
Cool.
I think before high school, I was kind of like not sure because I was in China and then I was like a teenager. I was in middle school. I didn't know that I wanted to work in music. But as soon as I got into high school, well, I got into high school as a sophomore, and you knew that.
Yeah.
And I started to pick up guitar. I started to do a lot of live performances. I started to, meeting friends that's just like you that were playing music on campus, were having fun. And all of a sudden, it kind of occurs to me that, I don't want to do anything else because back home, well, for my family to send me to a private school that we went to, very expensive.
Yes.
So we do have a family business at home that's like in the logistic business. It's very traditional, it's steady and it's slow, and it's like, you kind of slowly get into what you're doing, but like it's just something that I'm not very interested in. It makes money for sure.
A lot of boring things make money.
Right. So exactly. But I think in high school, it just kind of occurs to me that I only want to work in music, and I want to, in a philosophical way, like I want to devote my life to music. Like that's just occurred to me in high school.
That is beautiful and so fortunate.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that when I applied to college, we actually had a lot of conflict with my parents because my parents did not want me to go to music school. They were very stubborn in a way that wanted me to go to business school, which I like turn it down, like politely or impolitely at times. I was trying to like find the right words to say that, because there were a lot of
politely
arguments.
rebellious.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
so I was, I was a rebellious kid, and so at the end of it, I think they gave in, and I sort of compromised a little bit as well to say, okay, like we're gonna meet in the middle. I'm still gonna go to music school, but I'm gonna study music business. How about that?
There you go.
So that's kind of what happened. And then I think that was probably one of the best decisions I've made in my life, because if I didn't go to the college I go to, if I didn't go to the program that I go to.
And you went to NOLA.
I went, I went to Loyola in New Orleans. Fantastic city. Oh, I miss NOLA so much. I can't even tell you. But no, I think if I didn't do that, if I didn't make that choice or go to the school that I go to, went to the program that I go to, like everything would be so different.
Right.
So yeah, I'm very fortunate that way. Life just pushed me in directions that it works out the best way for me.
Amazing. Okay, so you're on this track then, and eventually you start working for Tencent.
Yes.
How does that happen?
Okay, so
Well, we should also say,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people who are watching this won't know what Tencent is.
right.
They own WeChat, right?
Yes, Tencent owns WeChat. So, but I do want to correct one thing, because Tencent Music has the word Tencent in it, because Tencent owns 51% of Tencent Music.
Good to know. Yeah.
But Tencent Music and Tencent are essentially two different companies. By now, they're definitely two companies. They're two separated public companies. One is in this New York Stock Exchange, one is in the Hong Kong stock market. Okay. So two completely different company by now. But at one point, it was a spin-off from the big Tencent. We call it Tencent Daddy. Like a spin-off. I know.
Yeah.
It's so funny. So it's a spin-off from the big Tencent, and then merged with 2-3 other products from the market. They did some merger and acquisition to form this new company called the Tencent Music Entertainment Group.
Wow.
So that's that. And then to answer your question, how did that happen? Right? So 2015, I graduated college. I moved out here to LA for my very first job that I was fortunate enough to get a royalty job here in Hollywood. It's amazing. But then at the time I was only allowed to work for a year, because there's this thing called OPT. I'm sure all of it, my international audience would know what that is. It's basically a work permit that the US government granted you for higher education, for completing a higher degree in the United States. And sometimes, most of the times, it's a year, sometimes it's 3 years. And at the time, I only got 1 year of OPT, which is a work authorization that only allows me to work for a year as an extended education from your higher degree. So I was out here in LA. I was working at this royalty job, which was fun, but it's pretty steady, sometimes boring.
Right. I'm sure you learned a lot, though.
I learned a whole lot. I learned about copyright. I was in the back end and kind of witnessing everything happen in the front, and then kind of every piece of information flows to me for me to know, okay, where should the money go?
Yeah, and does that stuff get really messy?
Oh my goodness. It gets so messy.
I believe
it.
You
have no idea how many calls that I get from people and being like, where's my money?
Yeah, sure. Wow. Wild.
So that happens every single day.
Yeah.
And then, so I worked on that job for a year. It was fun. But then at the end of it, I was kind of like, okay, is this it? I was 23 at a time. And then I was kind of like, okay, I can see myself working at this job for the next 20 years. Or I can do something different with my life, right? So at the time, I made a really tough decision and be like, okay, I'm going to give up this life in the United States that I've been living for the past 8 years. I'm going to leave all my friends behind in the United States that I've made for the past amazing friendships. I'm going to go move home to my family.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to China. So I did. And 2016, I moved home, didn't know what I was going to do. And as I mentioned before, I did have a family business. So I worked at my family business for a little bit, for about, I want to say 6-7 months. Did not like that. It wasn't something, well, I didn't, at the time, I know nothing about logistics business.
Yeah.
which makes it extra difficult.
Sure.
And you know, I was the daughter of the owner of the company, and then everybody kind of treat me a little bit differently.
Sure,
You're not just like any other employee. It's like just messy. It's like a rough situation.
Yeah.
So at the end of it, at 2017, 2017 after Spring Festival. Spring Festival is a big festival in China.
Right, yep.
Before Spring Festival, nothing happens. It's like kind of like Christmas.
Right.
So after Spring Festival, I made a decision and be like, I talked to my dad. I was like, okay, this is not for me. I'm sorry. This is it for me. I'm going to go out and find myself another music job.
Yes.
So dad was like, okay, good luck.
Good luck. Yeah. Because
like,
you told me that,
Yeah.
I mean, getting a job in music in China, I mean, we think it's really hard here. You have to have industry connections, that sort of thing. But you're saying it's even harder in China.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
such a small, close-knit community. If you don't know anybody, if you don't know your way,
Right.
like your way in,
Yeah.
you're an outsider. Like nobody's going to talk to you. So basically, again, I think it's what the universe gave me, that it was just dumb luck. So at the time when I was looking for a new job, a new music job, while I was still working this dead end family business situation, I was going to this gym that was offering a lot of gym classes, like group classes. So one of the guys that goes to the gym was working at Tencent Games at the time. And he and I become friends, and we were a whole bunch of friends, and then he was one of those. And then, you know, sometimes we'd go out to have lunch together after the class and whatnot. And then one day we just started small talk, and then he was kind of like, oh yeah, like job and whatever. And then I started the conversation. I was like, oh yeah, I'm looking for a new job as well. Like, do you know anyone from Tencent Music? Because I know the company exists.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right? It's a big company. I know it exists and it's doing very well. And then he was like, oh yeah, like you're looking for some opportunities. Let's look on their job board and see where what we can do to refer you to the HRs and internal refers and all of that.
It sounds like a great friend.
I was like, let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah.
And then one thing led to another. We found a few job postings, and then he was helping me with the internal referral. The good thing about internal referral is that you have a real person to talk to, instead of like hr@tencent.com.
Yeah.
It's like you don't know who
I
that
think
is.
the moral of the story here is go to the gym, everyone. Go to the gym and talk to people and make friends.
Yeah, making friends.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Right. So he referred me to this one job, and I got the job, and I think the job originally was supposed to be based in Beijing, where it's not where I'm from. Where I'm from is Shenzhen. It's also where Tencent and Tencent Music is headquartered in.
Oh wow. Okay.
So originally I was supposed to go to Beijing, and I actually went up to Beijing for an interview. I interviewed with the director of the department, and she was like, okay, like this is going very well, like okay, you need to go for one more round of interviews back in Shenzhen with the VP of the department, and then you'll be done. So I went back to Shenzhen, wait for the interview for about like 2-3 weeks or whatnot, and then during that 2-3 weeks, I kind of like, what's going on, like did I not get a job or what?
Yeah.
It ended up it's just because he was business traveling the entire time,
Sure.
so he just was not in the office. So after I interviewed with him, he was kind of like, oh, I don't want you to go to Beijing anymore, like be in Shenzhen. Like, I want you to be on my team. I wanted you to be in the headquarters. Don't go to Beijing.
Amazing.
And
Sounds like a better opportunity, right?
A better opportunity because I was like, Tencent's office is like 10 minutes away from where I live.
Amazing.
I was like, okay, this is great.
So for a second, let's just tell people, what does Tencent Music do mostly?
Okay. So Tencent Music, most of Tencent Music's products are, you can think of it as the equivalent of Apple Music and Spotify, but there are a few streaming services that are under the Tencent Music umbrella. They are called QQ Music. QQ Music is one of them. Kugou Music and Kuwo Music. But Kuwo, I think, is getting very, very small.
Okay.
QQ Music focused mostly on Western, I would say Western K-pop, sort of like younger generation audiences. Kugou is more like second tier city, more domestic content. Also a lot of, I want to say their demographic is like my parents' generation. I know my dad uses Google, which is amazing to find out.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but like this is what they do. This is one part of their business, and it's the main part of the business is streaming and subscription of streaming services, streaming music services.
All right.
And the other part of the services right now, and I think it might be diminishing a little bit, is the karaoke business.
Oh.
They also have karaoke apps that offers people to sing karaoke on those apps. I know that the people from my parents' generation loves that app because it offers them a social space. So basically, you can sing the song on the platform, record it, right? And so it gives you like a recording or something that you can send the link through WeChat to your friends.
Adorable.
So that your friends can listen to it, and then they can interact with you on
So
the
your
platforms.
parents are really big into karaoke then?
I would say my parents' generation.
Okay,
Not exactly
okay,
my
okay.
parents. I think my dad is just down to like listen to music on Google. Like he's like the day that I found out he's on Google, I was like, what?
That's cool.
I think after COVID, they started something that I think at the time we were hesitant to do, which is artist management.
Okay.
So they started to sign artists, mostly local artists, I would say, mostly local artists, developing artists, and to develop them kind of in a way that a record label would do. That's essentially.
So they were doing like A&R.
Yeah, they were doing a lot of A&R.
And how would they find those artists?
Some of them, they found them on talent shows.
Okay.
I think so. I think a lot of them are from talent shows. Some of them are major label artists, but their agreement with their label expires, so they kind of like catch them that way.
Okay, cool.
That happens as well.
Yeah.
Mostly those two ways.
Neat. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I guess back to the story, which okay, so you're working at Tencent now.
Yes.
Yeah. Not now, but like
now,
in the
but
story.
like,
in the story.
Yeah. So okay. So I got into Tencent, and my Tencent experience, I would say, it's a bit of a different experience than everybody else's, and I think a lot of even my colleagues right now didn't get experience that I had, was because the day I got into Tencent, my VP of the department kind of asked me to go into his office, and we had a little talk. So he was telling me that, okay, we're gonna assign you. Well, the team that you're working on, we assign you a client.
So I think also my question about like the day-to-day things. So if you're so you went from working with, Universal Music Group and Sony and those sort of things. So you were working with United States-based artists mostly then?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Both.
Both.
The US-based. There was some European, because I think in the China office. Okay, so mainly I work with the major label's China office.
Okay.
So everything kind of filters down to them. So they have their own priority. So whenever they have a release, they have a digital team that kind of filters down, like, okay, like we have all of these releases for example, for this upcoming Friday, right? So they filter it down to like, okay, the US priority are these people. The UK European priority are these people, and then like the China, Taiwan, Hong Kong priority are these people,
Right.
and then we update those lists like every week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it already got filtered down from the China office. So like if you don't pass the China office filter, you're not even on the list.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. But it's about essentially promoting these people in China,
Yeah.
whether or not they're from the United States
Yeah.
or they're a Chinese-based
Absolutely.
artist.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that really set you up potentially for what you're currently doing now,
Yes, absolutely.
where it's like this bridge between the West and the East,
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. I think the bridge sort of, I think, okay, so when I was still at Tencent Music, I feel like I was already been doing the bridging a little bit.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Right?
Yeah.
So there were a lot of US clients, and there were times that, some priority artists that we did a huge case from the United States, and everybody from the US kind of flew over to China. And then we had this big sort of conference about this very specific artist that everybody cared about and wanted to do well for. So I found myself having already doing a lot of educational tasks, educating people about who we are as a market.
Like you're doing right now.
Yeah, like what I'm doing right now, who we are as a market, what are some of the things that are different from the US, what are some of the different nuances that you pay attention to, lots of layers of stuff for doing business, especially in the entertainment business, because it is about emotions.
Yeah.
It is about the exchange of emotions and universal feelings and all of that. So those things matters, and tied into the political landscape of China that everybody knows that it's could tend to get a little bit complicated, and then it's very high context.
Yeah.
So so I found myself have been already doing a lot of those already.
Yeah.
At
It's very
Tencent.
diplomatic.
It's very diplomatic, and you need to be careful about how you deliver it just as much as what you're saying.
Yes, I'm sure. Yeah.
Because you don't want to say something and piss people off. That's a no-no.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be very careful when I'm doing all these tasks to make sure that, okay, like people on the Chinese side understand that the US people aren't annoying and crazy. And try to make the American side of people understand that the Chinese aren't rude and just don't want to get back to you, don't want to explain this high context situation, because the educational process tends to get very complicated and it could be a lot of work.
Right.
So there are times that label people are kind of like, okay, if you don't get it, you don't get it.
Right.
And to the American people, that could be very rude. I found myself have already been doing in my previous job. So when I started Southern Wind, I was kind of like, okay, how can I utilize this skill set or asset of mine to help artists to do more for them? Because at Tencent, I feel like when I was sitting at Tencent's chair, I need to think from their interests, from Tencent's interest, instead of what's best for developing this artist. Because sometimes, a lot of times it's aligned, but sometimes it could be different.
Sure.
And I found myself feeling frustrated to deliver information for the client or the label or the artist, saying things to have just the corporate interest in mind.
Right. Because maybe Tencent wants them to do some kind of PR, be on a show, who knows what the case is, and the artist is not interested in doing it, doesn't think it aligns with them as an artist or their career, but it aligns with Tencent and making the money and okay, I get it.
So I think the corporate interests sometimes don't align with the artist's interest. And I think especially in the US,
artists
all have their own little personality, little quirks, personality. That's what makes it fun.
Yes,
for everybody.
Yeah.
But in China, I think in Asia in general, artists are more like products.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that, because I thought that was really interesting the other day when you told me how, behind an artist, there's usually like a team of 10 people. They all work in an office, and it's called like an artist studio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can you just talk about that a little bit and how it's so different?
Of course. So basically, I think in China specifically, I don't know about other Asian countries, but like in China, it's very common for a artist to establish his or her own what we call studio company. Usually it's the artist's name plus studio. That's quite literally the name of the company.
Yeah.
So usually it's a very small office. It's a very tight community. A lot of times families involved, like your cousin, your sister and brother, your mother.
Oh wow.
It's a very family, like tight knot situation, because they feel like those are the people that they can trust. Mm-hmm. So you got to keep that layer of relationship in mind as well when you're talking to them.
That's neat.
Right. So if, for example, you're talking to someone's mom,
it's
like,
wow. Yeah. You
got
the
to
momager.
be careful.
Yeah.
You got to be careful.
Yeah.
So basically what happens is that over time, I think a lot of the local, more so local artists, they find themselves better off working independently. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they will attract some sort of investments from either capital or a larger company like Tencent. Mm-hmm. They might invest some money, but those companies are completely individual, and their team of people are a close set of people, usually family, but sometimes not. Sometimes they get introduced to other layers as well. That could be that could be a possibility. But yeah, those people work just for this one specific artist.
Wow.
On every aspect, from brands, from brand deals, PR, like management, sometimes A&R. I've talked to some of the studio companies that they do their own A&R.
Wow.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, you do you.
Yeah.
You know, that's a very specific job, but okay.
Wow.
But they kind of do everything on their own. They feel like that's better off for themselves.
Now you were at Tencent, and you are, instead of doing the Sony and the UMG and all that, now you've got the Taiwanese and the Hong Kong, right?
Yeah.
So take us back there. What happens next?
Okay, so I took on the Hong Kong and Taiwanese side of the business for a little bit, not for very long. I think one thing about me, and I've been educated in this great country for an extensive period of time.
Yeah.
So there is a part of me that is very Americanized.
USA.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
This part of me is very Americanized. And you and I know, working in the industry, especially in the music business, you need to be friends with people.
Yeah.
You need to be friendly with them. You
Big
make
time.
friends with them. People likes you.
Yeah.
People need to like you first in order to want to do business with you.
Absolutely.
In China, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much of the case. It's a new industry. I always tell people the China music industry is about 50 years behind than the American music industry.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's people still try to operate it, but I don't think it's very effective. They try to operate it from a very business to business sort of way.
Wow.
Which doesn't really work in the creative industry as much.
Do you think the sound is also that far behind? Or just different and you can't compare it, apples and oranges?
Well, I would say, I think I wouldn't say the sound of it. I would say the production level.
Okay.
The production level, I won't say it's 50 years behind. I would say it's about 20 years
Okay.
behind.
Copy that. All right. Good to know.
It's not
Interesting.
that far off, but there's still some distances for sure.
All right.
So, but the way of operating business, it's absolutely 50 years behind.
Wow.
So if you do business from a very businessy perspective, in a very Chinese way of, business to business, contract to contract, and then you go on one of those dinners and you drink a lot of alcohol, like baijiu, it's like the vodka of China.
Okay, yeah.
You do that. Like, this is how my dad did business, like back in the 2000s.
Yeah. Like,
quite literally, that's what happened. It's like it's a very businessy situation. You are not exactly friends with those people first, but then the business happens and eventually become friends.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just the mindset is very different. So when I took on the Taiwanese and Hong Kong label, I'm doing it in a very Americanized way. The minute I get put in touch with those people, I was like, okay, I'm going to Beijing next week. I'm going to see you guys there. Let's have lunch. Let's have coffee. Let's do let's make connections, be friends, and talk about life and random stuff, right? Not so much business. So I eventually made a lot of good friends that way. But then I think the minute that the corporate people saw me doing that, they're kind of raising their eyebrows. They're kind of like, what are you doing?
Got it. Okay. Yeah, because it's so different from what they're used to.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on there? Like, you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, we want to do business with them.
Yeah.
So then I was managing the Hong Kong Taiwanese label, but not for very long because the language barrier wasn't there. I was this cool, like, Americanized girl that I think the Hong Kong and Taiwanese people kind of gravitated to as well.
Right.
Like, they're kind of like, oh, like, you study in America, it must be so cool, blah blah blah. And like, they asked me about like all my stories, and then like, of course you make friends that way.
Yeah.
And I think the corporate people didn't like that.
Yeah. You were too cool.
Like,
Let's just say it how it
too
is.
Much, a little too Americanized, a little too much. Eventually, I switched clients because I dropped those Taiwan and Hong Kong clients. I switched to more Western. I wouldn't call them labels because they're not labels, like TuneCore. Like Orchard. Distribution channels.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of independent music that were distributed through those distribution channels in China. They were operating in China.
Yeah.
And then, I think it's because in the Western world, including the US, including Europe, people think China is this far off mysterious land that we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I think it's a very common, impression of who we are, and it's reasonably so. So they hire some distribution channel, or they put their music through some distribution channel, so their music is on our platforms. So we're working with the distribution channel instead of individual artists.
Got it.
I did that all the way till I left Tencent Music.
Wow. Okay.
So that probably lasts for like a year or something, like a year and a half, something.
And
like
then what
that.
was the breaking point? When were you like, I need to start my own thing?
Okay, so after I left Tencent, I actually left Tencent for a very good reason, because I got into USC.
Oh, there you go.
For my MBA.
Yay. Welcome back
Right
to
on.
the US. Yeah.
Right. So I went to USC for 2 years, did 1 year of Zoom University, not the best.
Oh, right. Okay. Because what year was this? This was
2020.
Okay. Yeah. That
2020.
That checks.
So I did a year of Zoom University, and then the second year of my MBA, I moved to LA to finish my second year. And then I finished school, and then I kind of always knew that I want to go back home. Ever since I started MBA, I was kind of like, okay, now all my professional connections are in China. There's no point being here. So yeah, there were a few conversations during MBA to wanted me to work in the States, work in LA, and then I kind of turned them down.
Right.
Politely.
Yes.
politely
Rebellious.
Yeah, politely.
Yeah.
So after I finished, I eventually went home, and I went home. It was 2022 in September, because I have to go through the quarantine and stuff. We were in lockdown.
Yeah,
in
right.
China we were in lockdown, so I had to go through all the quarantine, like everything. It was a mess. Don't want to remember that. But yeah, went through that, and all of a sudden it's Q4 of 2022. It's like October or something, and I would say that was kind of our dark point in terms of economy in general. Yeah, not just music, but like everything. Yeah, it's like people's, like in China or in Asia, we do have this habit, this consumer behavior of having savings, which is very different from the States. Yeah, but we do have savings. But hallelujah. But at that time, at the end of 2022, I think everyone's savings was drained. Yeah, because we burned through all of our savings. We had no money going on. Everyone's panicking. It's like, what's going on? What's next? There's no sign of getting anything better, and everybody was just pessimistic. Yeah. So there were a lot of layoffs, jobs being cut, and there was no new hire. So I was like, all right, if that's the case, I'm just gonna take a little break and enjoy my time off from MBA, because I just went through this entire thing, not the best. And so I took a little break till 2023. Mm-hmm. So the spring of 2023, I started to apply for jobs. I got some interviews, good interviews from good companies as well. But then all of a sudden I started to realize that I'm not really for corporate anymore. Because I think, well, in plain and simple English, I think I'm a little too much for a lot of corporate people. Because in corporates, any corporates, not just in China, but like any corporates, you are supposed to be put in a position, and you're supposed to work at this very specific task of this greater agenda. Yeah, that's essentially the idea. Yes, absolutely. Of working. But you know what
being too much is great for?
Yeah,
being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly.
I really think so. Exactly. I think you have to be too much to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. And especially in the music industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know that you're going to crush this and that you already are. So
thank you. Yeah. Thank you. So basically I was a little too much for the corporate people on the interview, because they were asking me about like my perspective, my point of view of the future of the copyright landscape in China, the future of music industry, or where it should go. And this is what I went to school for. This is where I've been working for X amount of years. So of course I have some opinions. Of course I have my own perspective on things, and obviously I feel like people couldn't take that. Yeah. And they're probably looking for people who are listening to them, who are following their bigger agenda, which reasonably so. But at that time, I'm just like, okay, I guess this is not a place that's for me anymore. So that interview happened, I think, beginning of March in 2023. And then right after that interview, I was like, okay, this is a bad interview. Like, I don't think I'm going to get this job, even though I think I am qualified.
Sure,
and,
yeah.
And I passed, and mind you, I passed like 5 rounds of interviews.
Right, yeah. I was saying this is like Google levels of interviews. So,
So this is a nice company, a nice corporate. And then eventually I didn't get a job. I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, because you had that you had that come to Jesus moment. Yeah.
So I think that interview happened beginning of March. End of March, I built Southern Wind.
Nice.
So
Southern Wind.
Yes.
Where does the name come from?
Okay, so it is for a reason. I did not just randomly choose 2 words to put together.
Great.
Right.
Good start.
So this name is actually coming from, well, I had the Chinese name first before having the English
And how
name.
do you say that?
The Chinese name of my company is called 南风歌音乐.
All right.
南风歌 in direct translation, technically speaking, directly translation is Southern Wind Songs. But then I want to put music. Like, I don't want to just say songs.
Yeah.
So I kind of took the song part out and then say Southern Wind music.
Yeah.
And 南风歌, like the name of that I came up with. Actually, I went through all these like ancient Chinese literature.
Nice.
So like I spent like probably a couple of days, like went through like all the ancient Chinese literatures to come up with this name. So basically, this is a short poetry that was written, well, supposedly, because we didn't know that, because I think in every culture we have myths that the first emperor was like God sent from they're gods, but then they came to us to rule us and then help us build and help us do agriculture, things like that. So China used to be this huge agriculture company back in the days.
Sure.
And so planting and harvesting, food, rice was a big part of how we live.
Yeah.
So this poetry was supposedly written by this ancient emperor as a prayer for the southern wind to bring in like rain, to bring in like the goodness, the good weather, the good climate, so that we can harvest, so we can feed ourselves, so that we are happy and fulfilled in our lives.
I love this so much because music fulfills us, and we need music and we need art to live and thrive and get this bountiful harvest.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it.
So this is essentially what the poetry says. It's a short little poetry. It's supposed to be a folk song, and the music of it I think is lost, but then the poetry of it is still there. So it's a little bit of a prayer to pray for good climates, to pray for the southern wind to bring in the goodness of life.
Oh, I love it.
So.
Yes.
That's where this name is coming from.
All right. I want you to give advice for independent artists, the music industry in China or any other, I guess, Asian music industry.
Right. Okay.
How can they do that?
Okay. So currently I have, really 3 pieces of business that's going on. The first piece of business is a song pitching job that I'm working on, song pitching project that I am representing 2 production houses out here in LA, and I'm pitching their demos and songs to Chinese corporates, artists, and labels. Specifically, it's some Taiwanese labels as well, not just Chinese. So I'm working with 2. I'm representing 2 artists or 2 production houses out here in LA, and pitching their tracks to Chinese corporates, artists, and labels.
Cool.
So that's one part of the business. The second part of the business is a Chinese, more I think more Chinese specific marketing consultancy job that I'm doing for a major label. And the third part of the business, which is still small and brewing right now, is an educational program that the philosophy and the idea of it is to bridge culture gaps through music. So sending U.S. artists to China through an academic institution.
Yeah.
Sending U.S. artists and students to China to learn about our culture and the music and the culture and just everything around it, just everything that builds who we are, and sending Chinese students, music students and artists to the U.S. to learn about the U.S. and what you guys are all about. Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And
you are a music diplomat.
Oh, thank you.
I think it is so cool, and it is so important right now.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're bridging the gaps, and I think there's not a better time to do it than right now, as we're moving to more of a, sadly, more isolated world.
Yeah.
Music is the universal language. There you go.
100%. Yeah. I mean, like, I can listen to Faye Wong, you know, and appreciate it, even though I have no idea what she's saying.
Right.
All right. So, yeah, then the other question about how are these U.S. independent artists, all of you watching right now, how are you going to break into the Chinese music industry?
I think there's two ways. Maybe the first way you wouldn't like it, but I'm going to say it anyways. The first way is really to sign with a major label, which independent artists tends not wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because why would I say that? It's because major labels, they have their own priorities once you make it to grab their attention. I think there's some, well, it used to be if you're not the Taylor Swift or the Ed Sheeran of the label, you won't make it to the priority list of the Chinese division of the majors. Now I'm kind of seeing that shifting a little bit.
Interesting.
Like some of the mid-range, middle-class artists are getting more tractions in China than they are in the States.
Yeah.
So once the labels look at their data and they're kind of like, oh, like you're doing very well in China, maybe we should do something. And I see that shift already. So there are opportunities there. But for those of you who don't want to sign with a major label, which I totally understand, I think breaking into China also one of two ways. One is that if your song get picked up by a platform such as TikTok, or the Chinese TikTok, we call it Douyin. If you get picked up from platforms like that, it's very easy for you to establish momentum and build on that very easily. And we see that happen over and over again in the market.
Yeah.
But then that could happen 1 in a million times.
Right.
That doesn't happen every single day. I think the more steady way is for you to have a Chinese company that works alongside with you, because in the China music industry, the connections are very, very tight knots, and we essentially know everyone in the industry.
Yeah.
A lot of it is through introduction. A lot of it is through connection making. It's rough. Like I couldn't imagine if, like, for example, if somebody doesn't speak the Chinese language, even with someone that speaks the Chinese language.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you break into that group, that tight knot group?
Yeah. You have to have a connection.
There's
no way around it.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way around it if you want to take it seriously.
Yeah.
If you just want to, wander around the outside, you can do whatever you want. But if you want to be in the inside, there's no way around it.
Yeah. Interesting.
So.
Okay. All right. I swear, last question.
Yeah.
Let's say I wrote a song right now.
Yeah.
Okay. We're sitting here. I just wrote a song. And I want it to appeal to the Chinese demographic. But, it's English language.
Right.
And, I wrote it, so I don't know what they want.
Right.
How would I make it appeal to them?
Okay. First of all, I think I'm going to break down to the language and the sound bit of it, because they're two different pieces, right? So the language, obviously going to write in the English language, and there is a language barrier because we speak Mandarin as our mother tongue.
Yes.
And I think that you want to cater your song to people who are on the more educated end, because there's a better chance that they speak a little bit better English than your average or like.
And how would you do that?
I think choose your platforms wisely, like where you do your marketing, where you do your distribution on. matters.
Yeah.
Like I said, for example, Tencent have different streaming platforms that they did that are available. The demographics is very different.
Yeah.
So you got to be carefully choosing where you're distributing to, and like if you were going to spend marketing money on those platforms, choose wisely.
Yeah.
Which marketing platforms that you choose that you are spending your money on.
Yeah.
And there are options to do that actually.
Right.
So that I think that's the English bit of the story.
Yeah.
And the sound part of the song, I think right now, at this point in age, at this day and age, 2025, we are moving away from the very sad song, like ballad sort of feel of things. That part of that kind of sound has been popular for about 20 years now. Mm-hmm. There's still I see still a little tail of it. Yeah, it still has a market, but I see it fading away from the market.
Okay, they want something more uplifting, maybe, and
something more uplifting. Something is more, I guess. It's still melodically driven. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, like I found the Chinese artists, I guess audience, not so driven to beats, which is different from the American audiences.
Yes.
So we're still very much attracted to good, catchy melodies, but not so much in the ballad format.
Okay. Good to know. That's interesting.
Not anymore.
Yeah. What about like rock?
Rock is okay-ish, but I think it's not a mainstream. Mm-hmm. It's not a mainstream trend that I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. The good thing, the great thing about China, this is for the audience as well. The great thing about China is that we have so many people,
right,
that a small niche market is probably good enough for you.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So that's like why I'm sort of surprised too, where it's like, okay, you have to have a major label behind you or something, like. I have to think that there might be people, even in the United States, who are independent artists who are struggling to get their music heard here, right? I don't know. It's probably good. Let's say it's good, mm-hmm. right? But like they just haven't really found their audience. Mm-hmm. Maybe mm-hmm. they just need to mix it up because they're going to find a huge fan base in China. Mm-hmm. Possible?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we see that happen over and over again, actually.
Okay.
It's not uncommon that when people's careers suffer over here and they go to another territory, for example, China, with a lot of people, and then all of a sudden they're superstars.
Boom. Oh, I love to hear it.
So that's not an uncommon story.
This gives me so much hope for independent artists, actually.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of opportunities for independent artists, but I think to understand the market, to be driven, willing to work, because it's a lot of work. Yes. And a lot of artists don't want to go through that trouble. Right. So you gotta be very dedicated mm-hmm. to really do this. I think that matters.
It does.
So for independent artists who wants to break into to the Chinese market, I think finding your audience, even a small portion of the population, is probably huge enough to call yourself a superstar in the United States.
That's amazing.
That's kind of what it is. Yeah.
All right. Well, I love to end on this like feeling of hope.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Where can people follow you? Where do you want them to connect with you?
I do have an Instagram that I'm very active on, and I post about fun stuff and life stuff that you can follow me on. Is very easy. It's Sandy X Chen, which is my initial of my real name, which is an X. Brilliant. Conveniently. Brilliant. So it's Sandy, Sandy, X Chen, Chen.
Thank you, Sandy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
This was so fun.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes.